Oh my God. I looked at the title and I got confused. All right. Battle of the Challenges podcast, and this is Vincent Cloud,
And Famous Dave.
and we're talking about Battle for a New Champion. That totally threw me off. And I like it though, because when I came up for with the title Battle of the Challenges, I was making fun of the fact that we had Battle of the X's and a Battle of the Seasons. I'm like, what's next, huh? And that joke wouldn't work for a long time. We haven't had a battle of a something in a while.
Yeah, they went with like Vendettas and Dirty 30 and like War of the Worlds.
Oh, yeah. But with that being said, let's
Now
talk
it's back.
about,
It's a battle for a new champion.
yeah, except they're all newbies basically, which is a weird decision in terms of casting. We don't like what I expected was like Nelson, like ultimate finalist. Now is your time to fucking win one of these things. But no, it's all newbies. I think the senior people are Jay and Big T.
Yeah, because there's if you're gonna pick a bunch of people who haven't won yet, like you could have Josh, you could have I think had Paulie never won, did he?
No,
And
Kyle,
then, Corey Nelson. There's a lot of challengers who have never won.
Leroy.
Leroy's retired.
No,
Well,
he's
I don't
not.
know.
He's in
He's
All
not sure.
Stars
He has to check
4.
with Cam first.
No, he's in All Stars 4 with Cam.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
only allowed to if Cam says so. You know what? The second they ever break up, we'll know because Leroy will be back on the challenge. All of a sudden, Leroy will be back. Hey, what's up? I'm single again.
But then Cam will be there.
Maybe.
Oh, and that would be so
The
awesome. That's
spoil
some
is
drama.
fun. She'll show up like 4 episodes in. Remember when what's his name showed up to Cara Maria fooling around with that guy, Thomas?
Yeah, that's right. That dude. It
Abram.
was
Yeah.
Abram. How dare you?
I couldn't remember his name. You know what this season a little bit reminds me of is Invasion of the Champions, where there was a bunch of newbie cast members, not a lot of winners, and then like 4 episodes or 5 episodes in, they bring out the old people, all the like the old champions.
Old people. Yeah.
And yeah, I don't mean literal old people, but yeah, like all the veteran cast members who have been on the show for like the last 10 years and have championships. They brought them out, but then they were integrated into the cast.
Yeah.
This, it's just they're going to be brought out, but only to be in the eliminations to see if you can beat them. But that doesn't happen until like episode 5 of the season
Yeah,
because there's
which we'll get
three
to.
stages to this season:
Yeah, yeah.
control, chaos, and I don't know what the third one is.
Conquest.
Conquest.
Yeah. So at first I liked the idea. I was like, oh my God, this is a whole new thing. I'm so proud of the challenge for not being lazy and coming up with something new. No, it isn't. They basically just decided to, since the seasons do this anyways, where they're like, oh, it's teams until a certain part of the season, then it's this, it's singles, and then it maybe a third twist. They just decided to name it now. It's like, naming, oh, let's call this season fall, and then this summer, and then winter. You know what I mean? Like they're just giving their stupid twists a name now. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think of it that way. But yeah, like you're totally right because every season they always like, okay, you're going to be a big team. Now you're going to be solos. Now you're going to be 2 teams or 3 teams. At least they're acknowledging that, like, yeah, we're going to switch things up and you have no idea what's going to happen next. And it's just going to give them the freedom to kind of change whatever they want to kind of shape everything in the way that they want.
Yeah, this first portion called Control it is new. I will give the producers some credit. They're all one team, and they have to fight for extra money. Um, and that by itself is new. I don't even know if it's good necessarily because like no, there's no standouts.
Yeah, like it's kind of new, but it's kind of I feel like it's what they used to do like in the very like early days of the challenge, like the first like
Oh
12 seasons.
yeah.
because they would have, I mean, it would there would be two teams, but like the winning team would be playing for money to add to the pot.
Yeah, before we had eliminations and stuff, we would have um the first four challenges were just like, oh, we're competing against each other just for money and stuff like that. So it's
Yeah,
kind of
you'd
similar
win
to
for
that.
money, and then also you'd win like a stereo or a new cell phone from T-Mobile, or
Were they even around then?
no, yeah, it wasn't T-Mobile. It was usually like a BlackBerry or a Motorola something, or like
Yeah,
just
Nokia.
random like weird prizes. They'd be like,
Either way, they're playing to win money. But before any of this is announced, and this is one of those things that pisses me off, where it's just very fake and they have to act, right? This is the moment. TJ's like, so the winner will get $300,000, and everyone in the crowd is like, like unimpressed. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Is that not enough for you? Like back in the day, $150,000 was the biggest pot ever, and that went to Wes for the duel, right?
hmm
So I'm just like, there's no way. No one was like, everyone was just like, 300, get the fuck out of here, you know?
yeah. Like we need to do a little research here because I don't remember what season I know like Rivals 3, there was like $1 million prize. I think it was because that's when Bananas took,
Well,
or
he
at
took it
least it was $1
all,
million split between the three winners, wasn't it?
something like that. It was, oh shit, I don't
But
remember.
then at some point, I don't know if it was War of the Worlds or War of the Worlds 2, then it goes to like 750,000 split between the three finalists in the final. And then I think last season was 500,000. And now it's like, oh, 300,000. And then everyone's like disappointed. And then teacher's like, but wait, you can earn some of it back if you do well in the challenges.
Right.
Hopefully, they're not obscenely difficult and almost impossible to do.
I don't know. I just feel like I would have been like, oh yeah, like you can't. I mean, all that money is separated. Oh, that's the big thing. Okay, there's only one winner. It could be a man. It could be a woman. Right away, I was like, I don't like that at all. But uh, okay, so be it.
Yeah, I
That's
do
still,
prefer a guy winner and a girl winner. I
yeah.
don't know. I think it's a little more fair.
And then that third winner that chooses not to identify as either or. So
Yeah.
like, no thanks. That's not any of your fucking
I,
business.
I don't think 300,000 plus whatever they can make or whatever throughout the season to add to that total. That's kind of bullshit because the title of the season is, battle for a new champion. We're supposed to get a new champion. We're supposed to crown a champion, but you can't say they're champion, but then pay them like they're not a champion, you know? Like, if being a champion means you get 500,000, they should get 500,000, you know?
Okay. Well, what was the line? Someone was like, I don't want to, because they lose some money or they don't win money, and then Jordan takes some money. But the one guy was like, I don't want to be known as the champion that got paid the less or something like that, or whatever it is he said. But I'm like, fucking back in the day, it was like, I don't know, 12 grand a piece or something like that, and they were happy with it. I am just so annoyed with the fucking attitude of these youngsters, man. Oh,
That's right. Well, hey, in episode 1, what was her name? Jess or Jessica?
oh
When
yeah.
she was making her speech and deliberation, she was just droning on and she's like, I'm not even here for the money. I'm probably just going to give it all to charity. And everyone's like, oh, you're not here for the money? Okay, well, we'll send you in then.
Oh gosh, yeah. We'll get to Jessica. Let's go into the first mission real quick. Whole control, where everyone has to get into that big pit, and then poles, giant heavy poles with that's a puzzle, right?
Yep.
Um, I don't know. It was fine. Kyrian, I believe his name is R.I.P. Jordan killed him. He was emotionally devastated. That was fucking nuts. Uh, but he was just like, I'll be the leader and stuff. But then that's thrown against him later because they don't win, and the women are like, oh, well, you were the leader, and he's like, yeah, but you were doing the puzzle, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a lot of that argument didn't make any sense. You're like, Tyrion, you were the leader and we failed. I was like, okay, well, what would you have done differently? It's like there was one screw up that they did during that mission, and that was putting together the puzzle. Everyone knows when you have those puzzles, you have to set it up on the ground and then place them in there. The problem was is they just started throwing the poles in all those stands, and those things are heavy as hell and they're difficult to move. So once you realized you needed to move one, you have to move all of them. And that took too much time. If they would have just set it up on the ground, they would have had a chance to do it. But and I think that was Michelle. She was kind of running the puzzle over there. So I think it should have fallen on her, but nobody made a peep about that.
Um, Specifically, they had a chance to win 50 grand, right? And they have to do all this stuff in 10 minutes. I didn't think it was going to be done, but that's also, I kind of appreciated it from the producers where I'm like, hey, that is a challenge. Like, I don't think it could be done, and it wasn't done.
I
Like
thought it was
everything,
like
like
23 minutes. Or am I thinking of the rope climbing thing?
yeah, yeah. I think that's the one.
Okay.
Something like that.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say it's like the girls didn't do the greatest on the puzzle, but the guys, they weren't the most efficient at getting out of the pit either. Where like there's just like Jay and like I don't remember who the if it was Kyrian or whoever the
Yeah.
last two guys were. And
Mhm.
they're like trying to pull Jay up, and then the other guy at the bottom is just like holding on to him. So and no one can pull them up, and they're just struggling. And it's like just lift up one person at a time, and then dangle someone down to pick up the last person. But it was kind of a cluster on the guys' side too. So it wasn't like all on the girls.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. But for a while, and this is abandoned, but for a while there was like, oh, battle of the sexes. Like the girls are like, they're gonna fucking vote us off. They don't
Yeah,
respect us and shit
that's
like
what the
that.
whole first episode was. And I thought, like, oh, this whole season, if they're doing it like this way, where it's one giant team and there's only one winner, I'm like anytime you have like the show Survivor or the challenge, if it's a free for all, everybody kind of breaks up into like alliances. And gender is one of those things where it's like, okay, gender, people will have alliances based off of that. And then also like US versus UK, that's kind of a thing that everyone will do.
Ugh, God. Well, there's some other drama besides that. Like I said, that fizzles out, but we have Berna for some reason just does not click with anyone here. It's so cringy to watch her just like clash with people all the time, right?
Yeah, she reminds me of I think it was like Fresh Meat 2. I don't remember the lady's name, but she was on there and she just immediately from like the first day, she cannot like socially assimilate and like have any friends or like talk to anyone and but at least like whoever that random person is that I'm thinking of, she had never been on the challenge before that I'm aware of. Berna has been on a challenge before. Um, I'm not sure which one, if it was Challenge UK or Argentina, or I'm not sure which one.
Right.
But Berna should be able to like socially and have the social awareness to like get along. But like she's complaining from minute one. She doesn't like the bed that she has because it's not in the room with Olivia or something. I think
Michelle.
she wanted to be next to. And then we saw her kind of complaining about uh during the challenge itself. She was complaining about like, hey, no one's listening to me, no one's listening to me. And it's like, Berna, there's 24 people all talking right now. No one's listening to anyone. All right. It was a total mess. But like Berna, she only sees things through her eyes only, and she only speaks in complaints.
My gosh. Okay. Let's talk about Big T real quick. We mentioned how her and Jay have been on the show the most, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like that's what we're seeing with Big T, just like fucking always mugging for the camera. She's always like doing something. Uh, she starts off like talk when everyone's just hanging out for the first time, and she's like, "So I don't have a mastermind plan at all. You could relax about that." And they're like, "Why'd you even bring it up? Like, what the fuck was
Yeah.
that?" Oh gosh. Yeah, Big T is definitely like trying to soak up all the attention and stuff. She comes out, Dave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I, I don't know. It seems everything she does comes across as phony to me. So I I don't want to I don't want to call her out, but she does seem phony in a lot of ways.
No, 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 no.
Because she cooked she went to culinary school or something, and she's like, I'm gonna cook steak for everyone. And honestly, I've watched a couple of day or not what's his name? Chef Ramsay's shows. I've seen people who are chefs like cook a steak. She doesn't look like she has any training at all. She's just like, like she's cutting onions all incorrect. All right, like come on. I don't think she actually got her degree in culinary school. I think she's
Oh my
just
God.
faking being a chef. I don't
Well,
think she cooked for all 24 people.
that's right. But I believe in her, when she comes out, just to be respectful. In fact, I will now call her Big LGBTQ.
I'm not sure that's respectful.
Right.
It's a thought that counts, right?
Yeah. Okay. So, uh, let's talk about the first elimination really quick. It's called Fallout. That's when you're in boxes and you got to throw puzzles, no, pieces out and then smash through something like that. But it's Jessica versus Big T. Everyone voted in Jessica. Well, she volunteered basically, right? She was like, "I'm terrible at this. I won't win. I'll help you guys buy money, but if I get that money, I'm just giving it away to the poor."
Yeah, it was weird because yeah, it was the first episode in deliberations and she just starts rambling, talking nonstop, and everyone's just like she's kind of throwing herself under the bus here. And she did. Everyone except for Horacio. Horacio voted for Big T
Oh,
because one person like voted for Jessica, and then I'm sure most of the people were going to vote for her, but everyone, because of the way they did the format, where TJ just says person on the far left, who's your vote, and then we just went down the line. Everyone they just kind of followed the people in front of them because they didn't want to stand out and vote for anyone else until we got to like Horacio near the end. He's like, I kind of made my word that I was gonna vote for Big T, so I'm gonna vote for Big T.
uh, we mentioned, or you mentioned the deliberation where they're sitting on couches and they're like, "Oh, who should go in or whatever." Once again, it's pointless because the actual vote happens on the stage right at elimination. That's always kind of been a prickly. It's annoying to me. I hate it.
It is, but on this season, it I feel like it kind of works because none of these people have a lot of experience in the show. Because like we even see with like Chauncey when he gets the opportunity in deliberations, like you, some of
It's a
them
good
don't
point.
know when to shut up and they just keep talking and they dig themselves a hole, and it's like you can tell that these people are not champions for a reason.
Okay, let's fast forward a little bit. But Big T defeats Jessica in Fallout thing. It's kind of a remix of what Abe and Timmy went through on Inferno 3 a little
Oh,
bit.
really?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take
Although
your word
that was
for it.
way cooler though. Theirs were way cooler because they had a hammer and they had to bust every fucking wall and shit. It was great. They got cut doing it too. It was
Ooh.
nuts, man. Yeah. Um, okay, so let's get into episode 2. We gotta speed this shit up. Starting with the mission Ball Control. So this is basically a remix of Chain Gang from The Ruins. Remember the one where Wes was trying to throw it? So he's like they're tied to that rope and he's trying to like shake it so they
Oh
lose.
yeah. Okay. Yep.
Yes. And but okay, so this is the difference. They started off chained up and then TJ blew the horn. In this one, you have to climb up each other, click, form the chain, get the balls up, and where you could only throw in the ball that has your name on it. So, like, okay, so what's going to happen if you're chained up? Do you have to chain? You have to do this impossible challenge. They don't win this one because I was like, there's no fucking way they're going to win this one. Ugh, it's nuts.
Yeah, this one seems so impossible and difficult. Like, just to be able to chain yourself up and be able to climb up and everyone be able to get up there is difficult enough. Then to say, like, well, everyone has their own ball and they can only score with that ball,
Yep. Yeah.
that's excessive.
Yeah.
Because they had two ropes, and even though they're all working as one team, the one side was able to chain everyone up. So then they're just like, okay, well, some of the skinny girls climb up there, and I think they scored like 3 or 4 balls.
Yeah. Three, because they ended up getting only $6,000.
Yeah, it's peanuts, but
Yes.
back in the day, they would have loved it.
I'm kind of concerned with the way this is put together. Producers are trying to make these cast members as like underdogs because they're sent there to win an impossible mission. And yeah, and then they fucking bring in the champs later and they just get spanked and shit like that.
I agree. I think you really want to build them up because they're not champions. They're working towards it, but like at least make them look good. I don't know. And like I felt like over like the course of like in episodes like 2 and 3, or maybe it was 3 and 4, they kept talking about like Kyrian, like, oh, he's so strong. He's such a strong competitor. He's so strong. And I'm like, he doesn't look strong to me at all. Like he looks kind of scrawny, and I'm sure he's got great endurance, and I'm sure he's athletic, but like strong is not the adjective I would use.
Well, yeah, and to have him be completely spanked by Jordan again, I think that might have been a producer's thing where they're like, let's make put in the clips where they're like Kyrian man. Although I don't know, Aesop or as soon as fuck, what's his name?
Is that what it stands for?
I really hope so, man. As soon as fuck, get over here. So, anyways, he said, I want to go in there and go against the fastest, strongest, smartest. And he did pick out Kyrian. So maybe it's true. But to have Jordan swoop in like he did, yeah, it's pretty nuts. All right, let's fast forward a little bit more here. Unless do you want to talk about Melissa and Kyland at all?
No, I'm
No?
good. We could talk about Melissa with Berna and her and the bullying incident.
What'd she do? She like slams Berna get into the locker. She's like, "Don't fucking call me a bully" or something like
Yeah.
that.
Don't anyone call me a bully. I am not a bully.
Isn't
Like,
that
I'll fucking take you down to elimination. I'll send you home myself. And it was like, bitch, chill. Like, whoa.
that is not how you want to say I am not a bully with
Yeah,
anger ever. Like it
I
doesn't make any
know. Everyone's
sense.
like, oh, you're kind of stepping on your own point there.
All right, let's talk about Chauncey's little faux pas we were talking about earlier, where he's like, "Hey man, I am loyal as fuck. Uh, Horatio, have I ever done you wrong?" And he's like, actually, you have."
You voted me in last year.
And then he's like, "Okay, good point. I asked you that because I knew you were going to say that." Michelle, what about you? And she's like, "Absolutely."
Yeah. She's like, yeah, we were working together and you voted against us.
Oh my gosh, hilarious. And it sucks too. So he's gonna go in. It's gonna be a thing called Might Light, where Chauncey's going to call out James, the big British bloke. Oh, that dude.
Oh yeah, James. James is I really like James a lot. He's one of the bright points of this newer cast. I think Ed and James, those two guys are my favorite.
I do like Ed. We haven't talked about him yet, but yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's basically Connect Four, right? But with big heavy lights or whatever. They, I do feel bad because they can be helped they were helped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did like it. I thought it was fine. It's a little boring because it's just like as you're watching it, it's hard to know who has the lead until TJ says stop and then they count them up. You kind of really have no idea who's in the lead. That's the problem with it. If I don't know if it's, if the editing, if they presented it in a way where you could actually kind of keep tally and they were showing it, accurately at how many they had, I think it would have been better if they would have just showed it that way.
And it was really close. I think he beat him by one. But James was like so fucking tired. Remember that?
Yeah, because didn't James, I think James built up a lead and he had like a 4 or 5 point lead going into the third round, but he had gassed out completely. So he was super tired in that last round. And he had like 4 or 5 point lead. He ended up winning by 1 point.
Yeah, someone's like, he's never gonna win a final because he was like gassed. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, that's usually what happens with a lot of the big muscular guys is they don't have the endurance to compete in the final. So, I mean, but I kind of thought that about Chris last year. I just thought he was kind of like he's too kind of big and strong. Like he probably won't do good in the final, but then obviously he proved me wrong. But James, yeah, it definitely doesn't seem like he'd be able to hold up in a endurance wise final.
Mm.
But James is really awesome. He's got a good sense of humor. Um, he's, but I don't know, because I feel like with British people, I feel like British comedy is so funny that all British people should be funny, and when they're not, I'm just like, what the hell? Like, what's going on here?
You just poke him with a stick. Come on, make a joke.
I
Come
know,
on.
because like I realize that the only time I watch British people is either like in Game of Thrones or in British comedy.
It's very true. Holy shit.
So if you don't fall into one of those two categories, I'm like, I don't know, this is a weird British person to me.
He was very funny. There's nothing funnier than stealing Banana's girl.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about episode 3 if we can.
Yeah.
Uh, the mission was Control Tower. That's where you have to do math, and then they're above with radios. People are driving. They have to park it to equal the equation. Pretty
Yep.
cool. Pretty fun.
Yeah, I
Actually
like that.
win.
Yeah. And Michelle, she got a task of just yelling at everyone and barking orders. So that's, played to her strong point.
Who were the two math dudes? Or there was three: Kyland, Ed, and
Then Jay
um,
came in to relieve
yeah,
Kyland, I think.
yeah, that's right. That was cool.
Yeah. So
Just to get
like
like the smartest guys.
I did the first math problem like that they had up there and I got it fairly quickly. Like on my second attempt, I got it really quick. And then the second equation they had, I tried to do that one and I was just like I timed out too. Like, I couldn't freaking do it. And then so when they couldn't figure it out and Kylan left and then Jay come up there, like I was totally fine with it because I was like, I tried to do that math problem. I'm like, it was really difficult. Like, because you just plug in numbers and you see kind of what works. You kind of know what the last digit is, but I don't know. Like it was difficult, but they managed to get it done. And like I'm very grateful to the producers that they give them a marker board and a marker to be able to like do the math on because it was a huge pet peeve of mine when they'd ask them like math problems and they're like in the dirt on the ground like trying to I'm like just give them a pen and paper like let them figure it out like show their work like come on. So I was glad that they gave them that marker board.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been the math guy. I hate math. Like I didn't even try and figure out the equation. I'm like, math.
I was at work while I was watching it, and then I was like, okay. It was just like, hang on. I hit pause. I'm like, I'm gonna write this down and see if I'm able to do it. Because I wanted to do it with that Sudoku thing. I did it during that final where I was like, can I figure this out? No, that was like impossible. And like I know how to do Sudoku, and it was so difficult. So it's interesting to like try and do it yourself to kind of just gauge how difficult it is.
Yeah. I would have been more comfortable being the driver. I would have drove, if anything else. Okay, so let's talk about the elimination of that episode called Dirty Deeds. It was basically wrestling, right? Pole wrestle?
Oh yeah, that was Raven got sent in, right?
Yeah, and that's so Raven to call out Hugh Huey. She just defeats Hugh Huey, and it sucks.
Huey? Hugh
Hugh
Huey?
Huey.
I was thinking
Hugh
of Huey.
Hugh, I don't know. Either way, though, she's adorable. Like, I feel like she's just like a bright thing of light. I was like, oh God, I love her. But this is the thing. We witnessed this with USA 2, I think, the editing, where it's like if you're going in, all of a sudden the episode starts with you. And right away,
Oh yeah.
yeah. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, thanks.
We haven't seen my wife was watching the show and she's like, "Who is this?" And it was Huhui. She was like, "I didn't even know she was on this season. Like, who is this person?" And then it was like she ends up going in at the end, and I was like, "Yep, you're getting introduced to her just so they can send her home."
Oh God. Um,
I would like to like applaud Raven because she was the first challenger to choose her opponent and then actually send them home and not lose to that person. Because I think with Jessica picking Big T, I don't think that was a terrible pick, but she didn't win it, so it kind of looks bad. Chauncey choosing James and losing, I don't know. I wouldn't have picked James to go against, but
yeah, James was way more smarter than I figured he would be. He's kind of like Ben, British voice of genius. Yeah.
yeah, was it who was James was talking to somebody and they're like, yeah, so like Chauncey didn't think you were smart because you are funny and you have a sense of humor. So apparently being a funny person means you can't also be smart. And I'm like, I think that's the opposite. Like
Yeah.
the better
Oh,
sense of humor you have, generally you're kind of smarter.
shit. On to episode 4. Let's talk about the mission. It's called Under Control. That's where you have to swim. Uh, I thought everyone had to swim down and grab their own piece, but I guess that's not the case. Yeah,
Yeah. They
because
might
like,
have like amended the rules or something. I'm not I don't feel like they said it at first. But someone in the like talking over was like, "Yeah, if you can't get it, someone who's already gotten their piece over there can come back."
yeah, it was a big thing because they were like, well, Jay and Ed and whoever it is, they had like 5 people that were going to go back and grab the other 5 pieces because there were more pieces than swimmers, something like that. Once again, I love the fact that Ed is like in those top tier, like where they're like, oh, this has to be done. They throw in people like Kyrian and Jay, but Ed's up there as well. I like that because I like Ed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's a big strong dude, but he's also got the brains. He's doing the math, he can swim. He's got like all the intangibles that you want in a champion.
yeah, man, totally. Um, all right, so what do I got here? James. I don't have much actually. We could just go right into the elimination. Do you have any notes whatsoever, or are you just relying on me?
Uh, well, I've watched it all twice, so I feel like I have a pretty good idea.
Because
Like
if
we should
I'm
mention that Nerys, she was the one who couldn't get her puzzle piece. Big T, she struggled and she failed, but she still ended up getting it. So,
right,
so it was
yeah.
Nerys was the only one who failed, but didn't it end up being like a guy's day or something, or what? What was the elimination? I forget.
It was weird because they basically, instead of saying, "Oh, we're just going to vote all girls," and no, they just were very kind. They're like, "Okay, that was girls. Now it's going to be guys." They just decided upon that. In fact, I think eventually in episode 4, TJ's like, "It's a guys' day," like he just
Yeah,
told them straight up. Yeah.
yeah. He's like, done with you guys deciding.
Um. Okay, so let's get into the elimination. How I roll. Kylan defeats Huey. Not Hugh Huey, but um That was the one where you have to roll a ball on a like a track, and it has to fall
Yeah.
into a box. Yeah. Any thoughts about this?
I thought it was puzzling that Huey would pick Kylan to go against because I don't like in my head, Kylan is like one of like the top four, top five best guys there. I would have probably tried to go against like I don't know. I would have gone against like anybody else. But Huey also said that he went against Kylan because he has like the least amount of social game with him. So if he, you know, yeah, I think he probably thought that everyone is kind of like an equal talent. So just pick someone who you don't have a social game with. So that way, if you win, you're not like losing. You don't want to pick someone, call someone out that, you're in an alliance with. So I guess it
Sure.
makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, that would be like doing what Fessy does his entire
Oh,
career.
yeah. Wait, here, hang on. Let me call up my best friend because I'm good at this elimination. Sorry.
Overall, I remember people getting annoyed with Huey. I was like, oh, maybe a social game will be better, but he was kind of on the outs with people and stuff like that. Um, yeah, that's all I
Yeah,
remember.
I mean, Huey's a little much at times. Like, not the level of Berna or anything. Like, Berna, I'm surprised she hasn't gotten voted in more. But Huey, what was it? Remember when Huey, they were all like sitting around and they were talking and they're like, all right, let's play like everyone. They were like, I don't know what the heck it was. They were like telling the truth or something. He's like, all right, everyone, let's vote for who's most likely to cheat on their significant other at home. And then what's his name? Michelle, and then the guy with the tattoos on his face. I can never
Right.
remember his name.
Ah, shit, I don't remember his name
Callum?
either.
Is it Callum?
Callum?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, Callum.
Yeah. And he's like there, he's like, oh man, because they've been cutting to him talking to his girlfriend at home, and it took him like an episode and a half to admit that he had a girlfriend. And then yeah, they're kind of serious.
I don't think he ever. I mean, he hasn't admitted that to Michelle though, right? Like they're
No.
still doing their thing. Yeah.
It seemed like he wouldn't admit it to the camera like at all. And then once he had like the confessional where he's like doing the video chat with like her, and I was like, okay, yeah, I do have a girlfriend. Michelle, yeah, Michelle
Callum.
has no idea because there's still gonna be a payoff for that. She's like, does Huey know about that? Does
He had to
everybody
have.
know and they just haven't told us, the viewer?
Maybe everyone knows but Michelle. Oh
Maybe.
no, no.
Maybe, yeah, maybe that's why everyone was like, "Oh my God," because I'm sure some people know that, but not everybody.
Right. Yeah. I think if Jay knew, he would have Michelle's back and say like, "Hey, man." Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I like that in the when they were in the club and like Jay is talking to Michelle and they go way back, and Jay is
They're ride or
like,
dies. Remember?
"Yeah,
Uh,
yeah." So he's talking strategy with her, and he's like, "Be careful what you say to that guy." She's like, "He's smarter than he looks," and she's like, "Yeah, I know." He's like, "He's the head of the snake." And then it was just like, whoa, because like Callum is like the head guy of like that alliance in that bedroom. And like Jay had
oh.
figured it out, but it wasn't until like, hey, he's like, Michelle's like, yeah, I know, I don't care. She's like, it's politicking 101. You don't sleep with someone in your own alliance, you sleep with someone in the other alliance.
And when you pronounced it, I mean, I heard it as Paula dicking. Like,
Oh,
did she invent that?
well, she has a lot of experience in it.
Oh man. Okay, let's talk about episode 5. So this is chaos, right?
Yeah.
Because that timer that TJ kept on saying, like, when my fucking clock it hits 0, it's gonna be chaos, man. And I remember they're all excited when they get home because then it lights up and it says it's counting down. They have like 13 hours left. And Colin's like, I'm being upstaged by a goddamn clock because he just beat Huey. And that's
Yeah.
where they show up to like do fake congratulations. And he's just like, what the fuck? It was awesome. All right.
He's like, this is supposed to be my moment right now. I'm supposed to like bask in my glory of my victory all night long. It's like, nope, on to chaos.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the mission, which is Upside Down World. Yeah. Uh, yeah. Well, fucking Corey and Raven win this one, but it's like you're spinning. You're also like upside down. You have rings. You got to put it on the post. It was pretty fun to watch. I didn't mind it. I liked it.
Yeah. And a couple of the posts, they had like the yellow paint around it, and you get, 10 points if you get it on the post, but then you get 5 points if it lands on the yellow that's around the post. So, yeah, a lot of people's strategies were like way off because they would grab like six rings and then they just try and throw it all on a post. But it was like, I forget who it was, but they just took all like six or eight rings and he just threw it all on the yellow paint on the ground. I was like, yep. It's like, that's how you know you're not going to get last place. You just take the sure points.
Oh, well, there's no consequence for last place, but
Um, No, not really, but it's just when you go into deliberations,
oh
sometimes
yeah.
if they don't have like a good person to call out, they'll just look at like, well, who's the weakest on the team?
Yeah. Although now, okay, so chaos is going to be random pairs or random teams, I guess. That's what TJ said, right?
Mm-hmm.
I do. Okay, so out of all of this, I do remember, I think it was Berna and Emmanuel. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like, get to work, Berna. You have Emmanuel. But Emmanuel took like all the hoops in like one swipe or something like that. I'm
Yeah,
like, dude. Like there were some people grabbing a lot of rings at one time, and Emmanuel had like just the whole thing.
yeah, and
Oh,
then I think he like missed with all of them. He
yeah.
just chucked them all on the ground. It was like, dude, what was that?
Uh,
I think like part of it was luck because they're on the side of the semi truck and you're on like a giant pinwheel that's spinning. And if you kind of want to be at like 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock to drop those down onto the post. But if you're like in between posts when you're at like that point, then it's either behind you or in front of you, and it's difficult. And they would just end up chucking them. So I feel like it was a little bit of luck involved. But
yeah. Well, who won? Okay, Corey and Raven won, and that's fine. And I was like, okay, cool. Go Corey, because I kind of liked him in whatever it was, Spies, Lies, or Double Agents, whatever it was. So he's back. But then they're like, the TJ is like, okay, you both have to pick a dude to go in. And this whole time, as soon as fuck, it was like, you and me, we're buddies. And Corey's like, oh yeah, totally. Right. And then right then and there, they land on as soon as fuck. So he's pissed. He's rightfully pissed. But what makes this worse overall is like Corey's eventually just going to completely turn. And it's like, yeah, I voted you in and I hope you lose. You're just like, Jesus Christ. Fuck. I don't know. It was annoying because it's supposed to be dramatic. You have to pick someone right then and there. But also, didn't Corey go against Huey and they were considered they were like, as gay guys, we have to represent, we have to show that we're good. And but Corey chose Huey to go against them, but Huey beat him. But I don't know. I feel like Corey is not a man of his word whatsoever.
um, I feel like Corey, like I don't remember Corey from the previous seasons, so like I feel like this is the first season of Corey, and I like the first episode or two I didn't like him, but now he's like one of my favorites. He's a really smooth talker. He's smart. Um, but I feel like the reason like him and Asaf are buddies,
As soon as
and I'm
fuck.
sure he gave him his word, but the problem is Corey has like handshake agreements with like tons of people in the house. He has tons of friendships and alliances. And I think the reason that he went with Asaf was because if he puts in like a British guy, then a lot of other British people are going to be pissed at him. But if he puts in Asaf doesn't really have a whole lot of close friends, so it's not going to like piss off other people close to him. Because
Yeah.
like if he puts in like, you know, I don't know, like Jay or Horacio or like one of those guys where they're like in like a tight knit alliance, you're gonna piss off everyone in that group. And Asaf is kind of a solo playing this game, so it was kind of like an easy person to throw in because it's like, yeah, like you're in my alliance, but you're kind of at the bottom of the alliance, and it's
Mhm.
not gonna piss anyone off. So
No, it's smart. It's just his attitude. He was just so like flippant. He was just like, yeah, well, we weren't friends, and I hope you die. Like he just
yeah.
completely turned. That was like, oh God, I hate that.
Well, that's because
But
Asaf got super pissed at him, and Corey's like, "All right, I can match that energy. Like, two can play that game." He's like, "I wanted to be super chill about it, but he got so upset and was like, all right, if you want to, come at me and like call me untrustworthy and try and throw me under the bus." He's like, "I was put on the spot. Like, I didn't have any time to think about it, so
right. I mean, I personally wouldn't be so comfortable just turning like that because some other people are like, how many people has he shook hands with? We didn't know him and Asaf were tight like that, you know? Yeah.
yeah." So yeah, so Corey is probably just in like full denial mode, like, "Oh no, I barely know the guy. We talked once on the like next to the pool. That was it.
Really.
I complimented him when he wore a dress, this one time, and now he thinks we're best friends."
And in all honesty, that dress.
Yeah, those heels. Nah.
Okay, so I do feel bad for Corey on this part because Michelle is so annoying. She's like, you don't know what's going to happen with the females. Am I going in or not? And Corey's like, very calmly, is like, TJ said this is going to be a guy's elimination. But Michelle will not hear that. Like, she's so frantic.
Oh
Michelle
yeah.
is like teeter tottering for me. Sometimes she's so annoying, and then sometimes I really like her. I don't know. Split.
I,
I'm
I feel the
split.
same way. I feel the same way. I used to like her a lot more, but she's a lot more like annoying and frantic and panicky.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like TJ said, you need to pick a guy to go into elimination. He didn't say it was going to be a guy's elimination, but he said pick a guy to go in, as if it was just like half of a thought. And Michelle is like trying to think like, oh well, I mean, obviously the girl, the partner or whatever in the mission is going to be sent into the elimination too. It's like he didn't say that. He didn't not say it, but yeah, she was just like full panic mode, thinking she's going to end up going in. Meanwhile, us,
Yeah.
the viewer, we've watched like the trailer for the next episode, and we're like, oh, this is when the champions come out, and so it's kind of weird because what we know as the viewer, they don't know that. So like in my head, it's just like, well, no, duh, but
In screenplay class, they call that dramatic irony when the audience knows something that the characters don't know. So
yeah,
there you go. Okay, but okay, another Corey moment. He apologizes and then, she's still not buying it, and then he cries. And I'm like, I wonder if that's real or not. I can't tell with Corey. I don't know. I don't know.
I don't remember him crying. Who is he crying to?
Michelle.
Oh, to Michelle.
Yeah, yeah. Because he apologized so many times, and she's like, no, no. And then finally, he's like, well, maybe if I start crying, she'll start crying. Like, yeah, you're
I
not
think
crying.
it might have been like a little fake, but like Michelle was so angry and pissed off, and like he legit said like when he asked, I only thought about guys, and the partner, it never even crossed my mind. Like you never like crossed my mind, and Michelle was like, I don't believe it at all. And
She
he's
was
like,
like,
what the fuck? I don't know. I might have started crying too. Like, why are you accusing me of being a bad person? He's like, I'm sorry, but like your thoughts and your emotions were not the first thing on my mind Like I'm looking at it from my perspective.
Yeah. Oh my God. I wish what's his name? Callium could have saw that scene and been like, was this worth it? You know, like as soon as she does find out that I'm a two-timer, Jesus Christ.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's gonna be scorched earth. She's gonna be like Daenerys in that end of Game of Thrones.
Oh God. All right. Let's move on though to oh, okay. So Asaf does want Kyrian. He asks for him straight up. But here's the twist. So instead, TD's like, hey man, to be the best, you gotta beat the best. You know what I mean? So a champ's walking in. I was like, oh, it's gotta be CT, but it's Jordan. But Jordan is completely worth it. I feel like this might have been his best performance, like ever possibly. I don't know. He's super cocky. He's an asshole straight up, and he's fit. He's so physical, and oh my gosh, it's crazy.
Yeah. They said something, I don't remember exactly what it was, so it doesn't really mean much. But they said something about like, these people are like so difficult to beat in an elimination. I'm like, Jordan's not like perfect in an elimination. Like it just depends what you have to do against him, because he's only got half a hand on one side. So I'm like, like if they have to like rope climb something up to the like up, 15 feet or something, like you could beat him at that for sure.
That's you know what? That's a that opens up a whole thing where it's like you're not going to put Jordan in a pole wrestling thing.
Yep.
You're not going to do it.
Or climbing a wall or climbing a rope, like anything where you need two hands, you're not going to. What you would probably do is maybe make a contraption with lights and a ramp on both sides.
And
Or
it's
just make it a foot race.
random.
Yeah. Yeah. Random lights going off.
It's random, quote unquote. Oh my gosh.
See, yeah, when I watched it, it did seem like, okay, I think Jordan just knows which one is going to go off.
Because he stands there. He's like, let him get the next two. Shit like that.
Did you hear about like the accusations on like Instagram and like everyone who were talking on Twitter and stuff?
A little bit. Stopbeingpolite.com had a little article where they're like,
Yeah.
could it be or something like that? Yeah.
Yeah. So it was interesting because it was like I think Kyrian was a little upset about like the fairness of it all. And Jordan like came out and made an Instagram video. It was a couple minutes long, and Jordan described everything that happened. Um, and he was basically saying like you saw 3 rounds on TV, but there was actually 5 rounds. So they spliced together footage from 5 rounds. He's like, I think Kyrian won the first two. Then in the third round, Jordan just stood there and gave 2 points to Kyrian, and that wasn't him spotting Kyrian 2 points. Jordan was actually protesting the refs and production. That's what was really going on because what happened in the end of round two was they started to wrestle and like they were told no wrestling. Kyrian started to wrestle Jordan when Kyrian had the lead. So then, because they were wrestling, time was running out on that round, and Jordan wasn't going to be able to score any more points because of the wrestling. So then Jordan's like, "Is there wrestling allowed?" And the refs like wouldn't give him an answer, yes or no. So at the beginning of the round three, Jordan's just like, "I'm just going to stand here and I'm not going to do anything until you tell me." And then finally, they're like, "Okay, there's no wrestling. That's the rule."
Finally.
He's like, you have to like guarantee me that if there's wrestling, you're gonna reset us in the center. Are you gonna stop the clock or not stop the clock? Like, because Jordan's like, my strategy completely is gonna change. And I guess also like his shoes came off at some point. So like all of the footage, you can tell it's not chronological because like sometimes Jordan has shoes and then he doesn't, and then he does, and then Kieran doesn't have shoes because I guess both of them had shoes fly off at some point. But it was I thought there was some shenanigans going on, but once I heard Jordan's side of the story, which I mean, I guess I don't know, like he's putting it out there, and so I mean, if you want to refute it, if Kieran like came out and like made a video and is like, well, this is where Jordan's wrong, then maybe I'd consider it. But it does seem like it was a legit win, but you know, they definitely didn't show us everything that actually happened.
Yeah. When Jordan was just standing there and he's like, "Oh yeah, let him get the points or whatever," it did seem more like a protest. I was curious, like at when that was happening at that moment, I was like, "Okay, he's throwing this for some reason, and his reason is going to be like mind-boggling or something like that." I don't know. I was like, "What the fuck is happening?" I was so like glued to the screen. I was like,
Yeah.
"What is happening?"
See, the fact that he spotted him the 2 points, I thought it was because it was rigged. Because
Oh,
I
okay.
was like, he's spotting him 2 points because he knows that he's gonna win it no matter what. Like I was thinking, I'm like, he's got like a little like buzzer in his pocket or like or something, you know, like to know whether it's gonna be the left side or the right side, and then he's just gonna beat him in a race.
I just thought of that Sunny episode where Frank has that buzzer up his ass. It's like two buzzes for left, one buzz for right, or something. Uh,
Yeah, that's what it would have been. There's Tori back in production, like
yeah.
bzz, bzz. I don't know. I don't know.
Was it
It
worth it,
was
Dave?
it was like a fine elimination, I guess, but it came across kind of strange. And it's I don't know. It seemed like whoever was going against Jordan had zero chance of winning. I don't know. It seemed like it was the first one of a champion coming out. So I felt like the champion was going to win no matter what. And then
Right.
with Jordan doing the protest thing, that made it come across as something different on TV than as how he's explaining it in real life. So there's just like weird mixed feelings about the whole thing. Yeah, I kind of feel bad for Kieran because he was kind of put in a no-win situation. It seemed like production was kind of against him, and it wasn't necessarily him. It was the draw because it was him and Asaf. He randomly just got the bad luck of being the sacrificial lamb.
We forgot to mention that there's a draw now. The champ like chooses out of three to pull out, and that's the name or whatever. Well, one is like was a soft, one was Kyrian, and the other one was we don't know. It's either champ's pick or choose anyone, ever,
Yeah,
yeah.
it might just be a wild card, and then you get to choose anyone to come in the arena with you. Because that would be awesome if CT comes in there and he just gets to choose. And he's like, Horacio, get your ass down here now. And he's
Holy
like, oh
shit.
shit.
Oh
Like,
wow.
damn.
Yeah,
Or
that's
if he comes back and he's like, Big T, we got a score to settle. I'm taking you out of this game. He's
that's
like, I still
right.
got a
That's
beef
right.
with you from 5 years ago.
Yeah, they were. I mean, that's the reason why Big T is somewhat famous. Is she got the CT rub, right?
Yeah, yeah. She got to be
Um,
partners with CT. And I mean, Big T's not terrible at the game, but in a final, I think she's kind of terrible.
well, okay. Well, back to the elimination. So Jordan, once he defeats Kyrian, he gets $10,000 taken out of the bank, uh, which was interesting because that does suck. Like who doesn't want $10,000? Um, And when he's giving his speech, I love that Emmanuel just turned his back. I was just like, that is pimp. And I don't even
Yeah.
use that word.
Yeah. Why did he say it? Why did he turn his back?
Because Jordan was just, saying, like, listen, you guys don't know what you're doing. Only like he was just condescending. He was being
Yeah.
Jordan. He's an asshole.
Yeah. He was being
And,
very disrespectful. And like,
right.
yeah, I remember loving the fact that Emmanuel did that. He's one
Yeah.
of my favorites this year too. There's a lot of new guys this year that I like, and I think it's Emmanuel, Corey, Ed, James.
Yeah. Um, I actually didn't care for Emmanuel. I don't know whatever his name is. I didn't like him back in the day, but that little moment there, I was like, that's cool. Because didn't speaking of Jordan, Asaf wanted to go in. He was disappointed, right?
Yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was so like Jordan was being stupid there too. Because Asaf was like, man, I really wanted to go against you. And Jordan's like, well, then come on down. That's how this works.
No,
And
no,
it's
no,
like,
no,
no,
no.
that's
Yeah,
not how that works.
Emmanuel said he wanted to go against it, and you said all you had to
Oh,
do was come down here. It's like no, because the
that's not how
Asaf
it
wanted to go.
works.
Yeah, no, because the Asaf wanted to go against you, and he was like, no, it's Kyrian or whatever. Again, it's just Jordan being an asshole. He thinks he's smarter than everyone else there, which he's not. He's smart, but like he assumes that no one can be smarter than me because I don't know anyone else's thoughts. It's all me, baby. I don't know. It was a memorable champion showing up for this elimination, and I'm curious if anyone lives up to that outside of CT. Or I'm like, God damn it! Like you got to have like Jarrell's going to be there, right? He's not the
Yeah.
greatest eliminator ever. You want to bring Darrell in to run a final with. That's scary. Not
Yeah.
necessarily elimination. And they're going to have Brad. That's pretty good. Brad's a good
Well,
eliminator.
don't spoil all the names. I don't know
Oh,
these
oh,
people
you
you're
don't
coming.
know? Oh
Yeah.
shit.
Jeez,
Oh
you're just
fuck.
naming off all the spoilers, man.
But okay, well, I'm gonna. I don't care about this one because he's not here. Wes is not a champ to show up on this one, and he is the best eliminator of all time. He still has the record. So it's like, come on. We
Yeah.
have we have fucking what's his name, Devin,
Yeah. Okay. I
right?
mean,
Like,
if is it gonna be well the thing is it's weird because like when Devin shows up, I already I will 100% guarantee you it's gonna be a puzzle. Because
right?
you're gonna have to beat the champion in something and like when they face CT, like it will probably be a hall brawl type thing or some type of physical pole wrestle. Like when a girl goes, it's gonna be a physical thing when they have to go against Cara Maria. Like I
Oh,
don't know.
so
They're
you
just gonna
know who's
tailor.
showing up.
Well,
Don't
I
give
know a
us no
couple of them, but
spoilers.
you like you're giving away. I didn't know Devin or Brad was gonna be there.
Uh, but like, okay, think back. Who are some of the greatest champions in elimination? Fucking Derek. Spoilers, he's not showing up. But like, there's certain champs that you have to put in there because they're so good in elimination. Abram should be here. He's not.
I mean, Abrams been retired for a long time. Like, I don't know. They can only do it with the people that would like answer their phone and actually show up, you know?
It's true. Yeah. Oh man. Well, yeah, good showing for this the first time for a champ. Again, though, it's really all these the cast is like underdogs. They're not able to shine yet. They're being treated like I don't know, underdogs. They're treating being treated like fresh meat, you know? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's so bizarre.
Yeah, and I don't know. I feel like next week I didn't watch the preview for the following episode, but once it's like a girls' week, and then they're gonna take one of these girls and just kind of feed them to the slaughter, it's probably gonna be like Berna or Colleen or like one of the girls who doesn't have much of a social game. They'll be like the two people in there, and then it'll go to the draw, and then they'll just have zero chance, and they'll get sent home. And it's kind of risky, I think, for your premise of your show to just have the whoever gets sent in just gets sent home because no matter who survives it all at the end, they're just going to look inferior. Like if the person who wins at the end of this season, if they didn't go in and beat a champion, if they just happen not to get voted in and go to a final and win it all, does it really count? Because they didn't have to face one of the champions and beat them.
I I will say this. There has been plenty of seasons where we didn't have repeat people all the time. You know, it was a fresh batch for a long time until it changed, where there would just be new people, you know, one timers being thrown in. It that all changed eventually because producers love their legacy characters now, you know, their legends and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So there's so much more emphasis on them. If someone were to win this without having to go into elimination against a champ and win, they still earn it. But real quick though, I do want to say this changes a lot because everyone knows they're not going to go against each other, right? Like they're going to have to go. Like, you know, if I'm there, I'm like, well, I'm not going to go into elimination because I'll probably have to go against CT or Bananas. You know, like you just start thinking like this is impossible. You know, you're not thinking in terms of like, oh, who could I go in there and beat out of all you guys? You know, it's so bizarre because now you're gonna have to choose two people
Yeah. And
for, yeah,
it's almost like Survivor, where you just vote for someone, and the vote that just means they're gone. Like this, it's like you vote one person in, then they pick the other person, but whoever goes in, like they have zero chance almost. I'm sure one or maybe two people might get a win over a champion, but I doubt it. Like especially if they're gonna tailor make the elimination to fit the strength of the prior champion coming in to play it.
yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
is that is an uphill battle, and it's I don't know. I feel like it's fine now if it's someone who I don't think is that strong or that good, but like if they have like a person who I think is like one of the favorites to win this season, and they put him in and they send him home like right before the final, where it's like, man, I really think that person would have won the final, but they got sent in on unlucky draw. Imagine if it's just CT goes in there, he pulls a sword out or an axe or whatever, and it says, wild card, and he gets to choose whoever he goes against. Like that would suck. I don't know. If there's a potential that something like really bad's gonna happen, and it's gonna like kind of ruin the season.
Oh, absolutely. But we gotta have faith, and we got to also end this thing really soon.
All
So, in the
right.
meantime, like, subscribe, comment. This was Battle of the Challenges podcast with Vincent Cloud.
And famous Dave.